And welcome back to Clutch Time. Today, we are previewing Wake Forest, and we're going to be talking about the key players and major storylines to watch out for as they continue to prepare for their season opener. Want to thank Coach Skinny for giving us some insights as to how he continues to revamp and rebuild this team, getting ready for their season opener. And so, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we're going to be looking at everything Wake Forest here. So, we're looking at the players, we're looking at the roster, and just really what their outlook is going to look like this upcoming season. And so I think that the first thing that you are going to notice with Wake Forest is that this is an extremely young team. In fact, they have 7 freshmen that are coming in this season, and these freshmen are going to be depended upon immediately. In fact, you're looking at some footage here from their scrimmage a couple days ago. And Coach Skinny gave us some insight here because in this scrimmage, this is where it was a position battle to see who was going to be in the starting 5 with their returning players from a season ago. So you had J.C. Graham and then also 2 Carter Fields. And so he said, look, after evaluating everything with the staff and just looking at what the players did out there, he's going to go with 3 freshmen. And so right now, projecting his starting 5 lineup, it's going to be J.C. Graham at point guard. You have King at the 2 guard. And then at small forward, you have Kyrie Brown. Next at power forward, it's going to be Nick Brewer. And then the center is going to be Carter Fields. And so 3 freshmen looking to start here for Wake Forest. And he said that this was about more than just scoring points in this scrimmage. It was about who was going to go out there and execute the scheme. And then also, too, which players really gelled with the returning players. And so ultimately, 3 freshmen are going to start here for Wake Forest. And so that leads me to really this next point with this roster and just how it's built. And so first, it is going to be a youth movement with the 7 freshmen. And next, when you look at just the build of the roster, they have 6 forwards, they have 2 centers, and they have 4 guards. And so they have a lot of forwards. And with the centers, it's only a couple, but man, they have a ton of size and they have a ton of versatility with this roster. And so we're going to jump into that here in a moment. But that is really, I think, the key that you want to take out of Wake Forest and just looking at the roster breakdown and how it's built so far. You're going to see a roster that has a ton of versatility. I think it's going to be a lot more physical. It's also going to be a team that's more disciplined as well with what you're going to get from Coach Skinny Washington. And so let's go ahead and now just start to look at these players that are going to take on a major role for Skinny Washington in this first year. And so let's start. He doesn't have any weaknesses projected around him. I think that the one thing that I see with him is he's going to obviously have to get a bit stronger coming in as a freshman, 6'3", 187 pounds. But this is a guy that is just, he's a pure jump shooter. I mean, this guy has a great jump shot. And the mechanics look great, but he can really score from everywhere. He has great range. I think he's going to be very comfortable in the mid-range as well. And I think he's going to be a guy that can probably work either on or off the ball. And the thing about him is he's just tough. It's tough to defend his shot. So he's very tricky with how he sets you up and things like that. And so you're going to have to watch out for. Next player that I wanted to go ahead and take a look at here, which I think is going to be huge for them, is going to be Nick Brewer. And so Nick Brewer, he went ahead and established himself as the starting power forward for this team. And I think that they are certainly going to need him. When you look at what he brings to the team, freshman, 6'10", 201, he's a guy that's also going to need to get stronger, definitely going to need to gain some weight there to be able to pretty much hold his own here in the ACC. But you're looking at a player that he is very polished inside. He can score on either shoulder, and so he's terrific there with his back to the basket. And with that size, it really helps him to pass out of the post. And so he's very good there with the high IQ level as far as scoring with the back to the basket and passing too in the post. And he has a consistent step back jumper. And so a lot of times with centers, they come in and maybe they're just pretty good around the basket and they have to work their way back. But he has a good mix of the two. And so he's definitely a 2-level scorer. Let's see if he develops more into a 3-level scorer. Not saying that they need that, but he has terrific touch, and he's definitely a guy that you want to watch for here in year one with Wake Forest. And then the next player that is going to be an X factor for them is going to be Kyrie Brown. And so Kyrie Brown coming in, this is a player that is establishing himself as the starting small forward. And the thing with him is this guy is he's a hustler out there. And so it's not like he does one thing well, but he is going to give you a ton of energy. He's going to give you a ton of effort out there. And I definitely think that this is somebody that Coach Skinny is going to have to lean on at 6'7", 181 pounds as a freshman. And so these are the 3 freshmen that are going to play some major minutes here for Wake Forest, and certainly you want to watch out for. Next, players returning that you want to watch for is going to start here with J.C. Graham. And so J.C. Graham, he's projected to be a second rounder here in the SWBA, coming in at 15 points a game. He also had 1.3 steals a game and 3 assists. And so this is a guy that not only can he score some points, but he's a guy that is going to assist the basketball, kind of get this team into its offense. Not the best three-point shooter, which, King is going to be very much needed with this team to stretch the floor a bit. And so he's also got to become a better free throw shooter, talking about J.C. Graham. And so next player that you want to definitely take a look at as far as returning to this roster is going to be Carter Fields. And so with Carter Fields, this guy to me is a super athletic big. And I just love his motor. I love the way that he plays the game, and I love the way that he approaches it. And this is going to be a guy that they are certainly going to need to get going here, because he's terrific on the defensive end, and he gets to the rim with ease. And so you'll see that type of athleticism. Now, talking about Nick Brewer and how he complements him, Nick Brewer is a guy that can step out of the post. And then with Carter Fields, he's more of that interior post presence for him. And so the offense is a little bit tougher to go through with Carter Fields. But if you're running the floor, you're playing this type of space and pace that Wake Forest wants to play, he's going to be excellent off the pick and roll. I think that they're going to be able to find him if he's continuing to move down there on the box and things like that. So he's really going to get a lot of his points just by outworking a lot of the bigs out there. But he's certainly a name to watch as well. And so the next thing that I wanted to take a look at here with this team, in just talking to Coach Skinny a little bit more and some of the insights that he gave us. And so the one thing that he talked about with his 3 freshmen is that it's going to be, one of those situations where you're going to have to just be okay with the mistakes, because the mistakes are going to come with this team. And so again, just paraphrasing that, but he's feeling like that they are going to gain a lot of development and experience here, and that he's hoping that the ACC and really the rest of the nation do not take his freshmen lightly, because these guys are going to fight tooth and nails out there. And a game against the Demon Deacons will be a grave mistake. And that's what Coach Skinny said. So, be looking for these freshmen to really make an impact here in year one. And the next thing that Coach Skinny talks about too, that I really like with this team when you look at it, is that they have a ton of length and just versatility. And he said that this is exactly how he wanted to approach things when he was going out here and recruiting. Like, he wanted to go out and find that type of identity for his team. And he's saying, look, we don't necessarily have pure defenders out there, but, we're going to have guys that are very good with their fundamentals. And that's the core really of their identity. And so when you look at defense and you look at the fact that, yes, they don't necessarily have guys that are pure defenders, but what they do have is with that versatility, they're going to be able to throw a lot of bodies out there. And when we're talking about the length here of Wake Forest, I mean, Nick Brewer coming in at 6'10", you have Kyrie Brown at 6'7", you have Carter Fields at 6'9", you have Redford coming in at 6'10", you have Jalen Tucker 6'10". So look, it is literally going to be like a forest when you go into the lane against Wake Forest, because you're going to run into tons of trees and branches out there. So excited to see if this defense is going to be revamped. And so that actually leads me to the last point here in talking about the defense. And really what Coach Skinny Washington was talking about there is that, the defense is going to be a lot better because he's thinking that they're more bought in this season as far as leaning into the defense. In fact, he was saying that last season, that was maybe something to do with just really them not locking into the fundamentals there and really taking defense as their identity or their calling card. And he's like, look, you have to change that mindset because if you don't play D, then you don't play. And so that is the thing here with defense this year. And so they're going to play with a ton of effort. They're going to play with a ton of just identity this year, and they're just going to lock in. And so, with Wake Forest, I think that they are definitely going to have a turnaround. I'm not sure what their record is going to look like. I think between this team and Syracuse, probably one of the more exciting teams just to see how much the turnaround is going to look like, I guess, in the records, so to speak, to say that. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking here. Does Coach Skinny turn things around here in year one? I'd love to know what you guys are thinking as far as what you predict the record to be. But I do feel like that they are set to really turn some things around here. And so want to thank Coach Skinny for giving us some insight, letting us see some of the practice footage here, and excited to see what this young team is going to look like in the ACC. And look, as we always say, see the game, be the game. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.